Who's ready for some Bible study? Yeah, this works out pretty good when we're just starting out, but sooner or later, we're going to need to get the tools for some real Bible study. Welcome to Class 5, Setting the Table. The tools that we're going to need are our Bible, because this is where the meat is going to be, the meat of our spiritual study. So we need our Bible, and then we're also going to need our notebook to help us kind of cut things down into bite-sized pieces. Because it is getting close to Passover, in my personal studies, I am studying the plagues. Now, when I was studying the plagues, I thought to myself, where am I going to find this? And I thought to myself, if I go to Exodus 8, I should be there. So I went to Exodus 8, you can see right here, and yes, indeed, I am here, but I'm at frogs, which is partially through. The start of the plagues is actually going to be here at chapter 7. But because I used the technique that I'm going to show you, I knew when I was starting off that if I wanted to find the plagues, if I went to chapter 8, I would pretty much hit it. Even if it wasn't exactly precisely right, I would land where I wanted to land pretty closely. So I was looking there as opposed to like looking in, Exodus 37 for the plagues. To show you how to do this, I'm going to go through some of the book of Ruth. This technique, even though I'm using a notebook, there are two kind of ways that you write things down when we were in college. You had some people who would write things down because they wanted to be able to go back later and learn them. They wouldn't necessarily learn them when the professor told them a lesson. They would just rely upon their notes and go back later and study. That's not one of these cases. Sometimes you use notes because the act of writing something down helps to get it into your brain the first time. This is not going to be like how you are when you're making notes during a deeper Bible study. This is going to be an overview, and so the act of writing down in this notebook is just to get it into your brain. So what we do is, we start off, we've got Ruth, and we're going to start off in chapter 1, okay? And we go into chapter 1 and we just kind of gather some information. Sometimes in the backs of our Bibles, it might have sections that talk about a little bit of information about the books. We might read that first. Sometimes it might have it toward the sides or something. You can see here that Ruth was written possibly by Samuel, but they don't know for sure who wrote it. But, leaning strongly towards Samuel. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to go through and scan it in. What is happening here? Okay, so we see Naomi and Mahlon and Chilion. Okay, and they died, and now she is getting ready to leave. So she goes out. We see that. Let's check, see how things are ending at the end of the chapter. Ruth is returning, and Ruth, her daughter-in-law, with her. So this is all about chapter 1. Boils down to Naomi leaves. Okay. Now let's move on to chapter 2. I've got 2 pages at one time there. Come on, there we go. Okay, chapter 2. Okay, so they get there, and Ruth is going out to glean. Okay, and let's just check the end, see how it ends. Okay. She's sticking close with the maidens. So in this chapter, she's come in contact with Boaz, but basically it's Ruth gleaning. They're not in a relationship yet. There's no romance or anything. So chapter 2 is basically Ruth gleans. Now, the way this works is that let's say you want to find that verse where Ruth says, wherever you go, I will go, your people will be my people, your God will be my God. Okay? As you're thinking, where would I find that? You are automatically going to think chapter 1. Because chapter 2 starts when they already got there. And it ends, she's still there. So there, you need to go to chapter 1. Or, and even if you landed on chapter 2, you're still going to be fairly close to where you need to be. So when you're doing a larger book, say Genesis, or Exodus, looking for the plagues, okay, plagues start, and they're going to cover several chapters. I know 8 was a good start for me. If I landed on 8, I'd be pretty close to where I needed to be. And that is what you're aiming for, to kind of get it set in your mind where things are. Once you've done this, now you go back and now you're ready to do your in-depth Bible studies of things where you can sit down and you can read the chapters. And if you want to take notes, you can take notes, you can draw pictures, you can do bullet points, you can cross-reference things, whatever you need to do for your deeper study. But the reason why I use this before doing this is that for the longest time, I might study something. And I might know, say, David and Goliath. And I wanted to find it. I know that it's going to be somewhere in Samuel. Well, there's 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. And where exactly in? Toward the beginning? Toward the middle? Toward the end? What chapter do I need to go to? Where is it? So even though I know it's going to be in 1 Samuel or 2 Samuel, kind of in there, maybe 1 Kings, 2 Kings, I don't know, somewhere in there, by having gone through and paying attention to what things are happening in the stories, I can tell you, okay, if I want David and Goliath, I go here. If I want to read a story about Noah, it's going to be at the beginning of Genesis, not the middle or the end. And it helps you to kind of navigate through that chapter or through that book at a much faster rate. And when you do this, it just kind of sets the table so that now you can go back and really begin to process it and get some real good meat out of that as you do your Bible studies. Well, that's all that I have for this lesson. I look forward to seeing you again. Bye.